Just as I go live, the heater's turning on. Awesome. It's all good. Happy fun day. We are doing some sanding today on a very cool project. This is for a Nissan 240 S13. This is a race dashboard project that I am going to be turning into a carbon fiber fancy version very shortly. So right now I'm at that tooling stage of getting the shape all prepped up. Once this is all dialed in, we're going to come back and we're going to make a mold. So if you guys are interested in learning how to make a mold of a race dashboard, stay tuned, follow along. You can see that this is slightly different from a standard 240 SX dash. We've taken the center console off. A lot of the drift guys don't need that, so they're using hand brakes and open shifters and all that kind of jazz. So we just decided, let's take the center console off. So it's got a very nice flat zone here for mounting gauges, switch panels, et cetera, et cetera. Same thing with the where the gauges normally would be. Since this is kind of set up for the race guys, we are going to be doing more like a tack and aftermarket gauges more than the stock style gauges. So little heads up there. We are going to keep the underdash. There's going to be a provision for the center area to be removable, so that'll be a separate piece. You know, we're trying to hit all the what would a drift guy really need for his race car. All the vents have been filled, so no more heating and HVAC stuff. I am keeping the defrost vent because the defrost vent is going to be semi-critical. If a guy does want to run a defroster in his race car, you know, for cold mornings at the racetrack, defrost is definitely something that you want to use. So we're going to reuse the stock defrost vent. But aside from that, yeah, it's looking pretty good. I coated this last night with Duratec Vinyl Ester Primer Surfacer. So this is considered a top coat. There's your part number. This is available from my friends over at Express Composites in Minneapolis. They do sell it by the quarts, they sell it by the gallons, they sell it by the case. So yeah, that's what we got going on here. So yeah, that's a pretty good walkthrough of the dashboard project we're doing. I'm just going to be hitting this with some 180 grit. And the idea behind here is I already kind of started just a little bit. There are some bumps and imperfections. See if we can catch those on camera here. A couple little pinholes there we're going to need to work out. And then I did catch a couple runs on the top of the dashboard here. I started with a pretty nice dashboard, but it did have a crack on it right there. So that's been filled. Hopefully that sands out. If not, this is only the first coating that I'm going to do. I will put a second coating on this before it's going into mold work. So this is just kind of the coating that is covering all the stock dashboard stuff. It's covering all the Bondo work we did, filling all the vent holes and stuff like that, filling all the custom work we did to this. And now we sand this out, and hopefully it looks like $1,000,000 because once I put the next top coat on, I think it should be ready for mold work, right? That's the game plan. So yeah, if you guys know anybody with a S13 240 style chassis that is looking for a really nice carbon fiber or fiberglass dashboard, hit me up. Feel free to like, subscribe, follow, share, all that kind of fun jazz. If you're on Instagram, I'm over on Instagram as well at Grey Duck Customs, so you can follow along and find this later on because it's going to be a pretty cool little project. I know a lot of drift guys are just dying for parts on their 240s, so I'm trying to bring some parts to the market here. I've got a local friend who's got a couple 240s around the shop, so hopefully we can make some parts for you guys. Again, I'm using 180 grit. This is Sia Abrasives sandpaper. I do need a longer block, which I must have set somewhere very, very close. Here we go. Got a little bit longer sanding block. These are called Adjust Flex sand blocks. So there's a little bit of flex, but there's a metal plate on the bottom, so they're fairly rigid. And that's going to be perfect for what we're doing. So I'm not trying to go completely crazy. Gonna grab the phone here, just kind of show you guys what's going on here. So I'm running through just a little bit here. If you can start to see the primer's a little bit light right through there. That's what I'm gonna stop on this layer. I don't wanna go any further than that because I wanna keep as much primer on as I possibly can. It is very important when you're doing final sanding to be using a sanding block. You do not want to do this by hand because you'll end up getting waves and ripples and all that kind of fun jazz through there, which we do not want for a mold. We want this to be as smooth as we can possibly make it, butter smooth. As butter as we can get it. Obviously, once we make a mold, there's no going back. So anything that you can do to make it as perfect as possible right now. Let me get a brush here. This stuff sands pretty smooth. You can also use this Duratec primer surfacer on cars, hot rods. You can also use it on boats. You can use it on all kinds of different substrates. So don't feel bad about grabbing a quart of this and trying it out. Sorry. There we go. Duratec vinyl ester primer surfacer. It does use a catalyst like a fiberglass resin does, so you'll need to use an MEKP. I sprayed out of a 3.0 HVLP. It also sprays really nice out of a 2.5, 2.3, somewhere in that range, but I use a big paint gun. It goes out a lot easier, at least on the first couple coats. And again, going through that primer just a little bit, so we're going to stop right there in that area. do have a number of other sanding blocks. These are made by soft sanders, so they're kind of profiled and curved out a little bit, so they're kind of nice. There's their oval shaped sander. Pretty good stuff. Pretty good stuff. And it's just an adhesive sandpaper. Lam Bam, thank you, ma'am. Even though this is a race car project, we want to make this as nice as we could possibly make it. Like I said, this is something that you want to put the time in on the front side instead of trying to fix bad parts on the back side. I'm just starting to touch some of the vinyl underneath that, so we're going to stop there. That is sanding out beautifully. Cleaning the car, cleaning the car. We're standing on a dashboard today. No hot rods yet, very soon. And again, we're not going for perfection on this sand out. What I'm just trying to do is identify the high and low spots, make sure that there's nothing that we need to work on before we put our final primer coat on. This is kind of the first of 2 primer coats. And I try to put this on thick enough that we can sand 90% of it off. So it looks really, really, really good. And then we put our final pass on. That's what we'll do our wet sanding and buffing, and we'll do all our mold prep once it gets to that stage. So far, this is blocking out really nice. The nicer your patterns are, the nicer your mold is going to end up being. So take your time, do it right the first time. Because if you don't have time to do it right the first time, you won't have time to fix it when it's wrong. You see, I'm just starting to go through kind of here and there. This is a great first layer. This is a great first coat. It's looking pretty darn good if you ask me. Smoothing out very, very, very nicely. Haven't gone through that much. Yeah, this is turning out pretty good so far. Ooh. Come at that from the other side here. All right, so this is going to be one of those spots where even with soft sanding blocks, it's a little difficult to get around that radius. So I'm just taking some sandpaper, sticking it together, kind of make a makeshift sanding block. beautiful. Beautiful. Super beautiful. Let's work around that dash hood a little bit more. Oh, this is getting smooth. Just barely going through our primer. That's a good stopping point. Like I said, we're getting about 90% of the sanding out right now. Once we put our second top coat on, this thing's going to look like $1,000,000. Yeah. Let me move the rig around here. Oof. There we go. There we go. Just like downtown. That's right, I gotta pull this vent plate out before I make a mold of that. Oof. Yeah, we'll give that another coat. That's a little thin right there. A couple of those pinholes might need a little bit of filler. That's okay. We're getting there. I might need to change my sandpaper here. How long have we been live? 43 minutes. Wow, a lot of you guys are watching. So for you guys that are just joining us, this is a Nissan 240 SX dashboard project. We're going to be making a carbon fiber mold of this part. This is for race chassis. So you can see there's no defroster and heating vents anymore. Those have been filled in, gone. We are keeping the defrost just in case it's a cold morning at the racetrack. Also filled in the radiator and center vent openings. So this will be for gauges, switch panels, all that kind of fun stuff. And then also where the stock gauge cluster is now smooth. So that will be for something like a Haltech dash, or it could be for like a tachometer, miscellaneous switches, et cetera, et cetera. So race car. And again, we've also removed the center console area because a lot of your drift guys sure do like handbrake levers and stuff like that. And it typically is all messed up when you have a console. So, yep, we're getting very, very, very close. I'm going to end up putting one more coat of primer on this before the actual tooling and the molding starts. So if you're not subbed if you want to follow along this project. And yeah, we're going to get there. Like I said, full mold process. So we'll go from the tooling resin to the fiberglass application to all the flange work, et cetera, et cetera. And we're going to have a very, very, very nice dashboard shape for you race guys very, very soon. So stay tuned for that. I'm going to hop off live, guys. I've already been on this for 45 minutes. I have a little bit more sanding to go. And I'll just kind of keep you guys up in the loop. Once I do my next primer coat, we'll do a little bit of tune-up work. I'll do another quick live before we actually start the tooling process, but turn your notifications on if you want to see more, and take a look at my live because that's where I do most of my videos. So anyway, guys, 240 dashboard is sanding out beautifully. I'm super, super happy. I got a little bit more work to go, and I will do that on next application. So anyway, catch you guys later. Have a good one.